Let's talk some DFS and Sportsbook. Let's cover the bases here. First base, a high-priced player in DFS that you are rostering, Nick.
I just want to say Albert Pujols getting a pitch on the mound, awesome, but it's a sin that we didn't get to see Ichiro ever do that. They obviously came up at the same time. Would have loved to see him, take that on. But when we're talking about DFS high-priced players, Rafael Devers is a guy that jumps out to me. I know that there's going to be a lot of options with Coors Field tonight with the Giants and the Rockies, and I will be talking about that. But Rafael Devers right now, the Red Sox finally hitting his team, but Devers has been mashing for a while now. 9 for 50 this month. 19 for 50 this month with 6 doubles, 3 home runs. He makes a ton of hard contact against right-handed pitching. That's led to that 260 ISO he has. I know he's got a 305 BABIP, so he's not getting quite as lucky as like a JD Martinez or Xander Bogaerts right now, but he's obviously not getting very unlucky either. And he has a pretty good track record against Odorizzi. Hasn't seen him a ton, with 10 at-bats throughout his career against him, 11 plate appearances, but 5 for 10 with 3 doubles and a home run. So I like that track record he has there and what he's been doing against righties and just overall. So Devers is my guy at 5.7K going up against the Astros.
Erik, who do you not mind spending a little extra cash on tonight?
Devers is actually my top guy as well. Love the matchup against Jake Odorizzi. I'll throw out a couple other names just to get some variety there. Pete Alonso, if that game goes forward in New York, looks like there's a risk of rain, but at 5,100 with the way he's been hitting the ball this season, more or less exactly what I expected coming into the year. He's got a career-high 270 batting average to go along with 8 homers already. Again, you'll have to check the weather late there. I also like Jorge Polanco at 4,500 in the middle infield. Only hitting 240, but his expected batting average of 293 to go along with decent power numbers and a pretty good matchup here against Zach Logue, a rookie who doesn't have a ton on his resume. Those are 2 other guys I'd look to alongside Devers, who I think is the main cornerstone I'd like to build around here.
All right, let's get to second base. I need a value play now in DFS, Erik.
Yeah, I like Ramon Laureano at just 3,000. He's only played 10 games this season. He missed the start of the year while serving the end of a PED suspension. He hasn't been great in those 10 games, hitting 176. But there's some signs that he's more or less fine. 3 hits and a steal in his last 3 games. He's also seen the ball well over those 10 games, 6 strikeouts against 5 walks. And I think if he was hitting the ball like Ramon Laureano normally does, he would cost a lot more than 3,000. Last year, 246 average wasn't anything special, but in just over half a season, 88 games, 14 homers, and 12 steals. So he's a very solid all-around player, not a 3,000 type, especially against Chris Archer, who's got a 4.43 ERA, and that's even better than what most of the ERA estimators have him as. FIP, he's all the way up at 6.24. Below average strikeout rate, far too many walks at 12%, and getting the ball on the ground less than 35% of the time. So pretty friendly matchup if you can find many A's worth rostering, which I don't think you can, but Laureano at his price tag I think is definitely one of them.
All right, save us some cash here, Friar.
Yeah, so I mentioned the Giants-Rockies game, and for the Rockies side of this, you got Antonio Senzatella going, which you would think, okay, let's stack some lefties against him. I think you can actually get a little bit of mix, and when you're talking about values too, you're looking at Austin Slater at 3.4K on the right-handed side, and then not that Luis Gonzalez, but the other Luis Gonzalez at 2.6K from the left side. When you look at Senzatella, right-handed hitters have a 50% hard contact rate against him this season. Lefties don't have as good of peripheral numbers, but they do have a 408 WOBA against them, 914 OPS. And you got these 2 guys, Slater and Gonzalez. They have the highest WOBAs on the Giants lineup against right-handed pitching. And I know Senzatella has done well at Coors Field to start the year at 2.37 ERA, but that 4.31 FIP means that there's some correction coming his way. And I think the Giants, when you got some guys that have done well against him, this is a good way to stack against them.
All right, Friar, we continue to cover the bases here. We're at the hot corner. We're at third base. Run line or money line bet that stands out to you on the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, so I mean, I looked at the early slate because obviously we're talking about that main slate from the DFS side, and I do like the Rays in that one run line. But also when we're looking at the main slate, I'm actually going to go with Twins run line as the favorite going up against Oakland. And I know Chris Archer, he's a guy who may be a little bit concerned about. He's had some good outings. He just got roughed up recently and had that shortened out against the Astros because of weather and everything. But I still like the Twins here because Oakland is one of the worst teams against right-handed pitching in all of baseball when you look at that offense. And I know Zach Logue has had some success, but still early. And the Twins are a top 10 offense against left-handed pitching as well. So I'm going to go and back that offense in this one and trust that Chris Archer is going to at least give us a decent outing going up against the A's.
All right, what do you got here, Erik?
I'm going to pick a bigger favorite than I normally do, but the Marlins at minus 180 over the Nationals might not be favored enough here. Sandy Alcantara going for the Marlins. 2.74 ERA this season is actually a good deal better than his ERA estimators. His strikeout and walk rates have trended in the wrong direction. But he's still getting plenty of ground balls, and it's still not that large of a sample of not all that disappointing of a performance. So I'm still viewing him as more or less the guy we thought coming into the year when he was coming off a season where he had a 3.19 ERA, better than average peripherals across the board in terms of strikeout, walk rate, and ground ball rate. And he allowed just 1 run on 2 hits to Arizona's last start. So I think he's fine. I'm perfectly happy backing him as the ace we thought he was. Aaron Sanchez on the other side, not an ace, 7.58 ERA. I don't know how much more I need to say next to that, but the underlying numbers aren't good either. Mostly his strikeout rate is terribly low, 12.2%. He's got a 5.18 ERA since the start of the 2017 season. There's not a lot left here. I could easily see this being minus 200 for the Marlins, and it still would look fine.
Friar, bring us home. Game total here, 12.
Yes.
12 is Giants-Rockies out west, man. Head and shoulders above the rest.
I didn't know it got up to 12. I had it at 11.5, but either way, I still like it at 12. We just saw that in that Royal series. They went over this number every single night, and I understand it doesn't necessarily translate, but I talked about Senzatella and how much I like some of the Giants' value guys against them. That means I'm going to like their bigger bats as well. Senzatella just I understand that he's good at cores, but at some point we're going to see some regression from him. He's given up a lot of hard contact to righties, and lefties have had success against him. And I know with Alex Wood, you got a more quality opponent that the Rockies got to go up against. But the Rockies are a top 5 offense against left-handed pitching, and they're obviously much better at home. We all know this. So I love that matchup for them. You've got guys like C.J. Cron and Chris Bryant, among a few others who have a decent track record against Wood. Not a huge sample size, but they've done well. So I got no problem taking the over in this one, even at 12 still.
All right, Erik, next closest one there. You got Astros and Red Sox at Fenway at 9.
Yeah, I'm going to drop down actually to the Twins and Athletics at 7.5. Not the best offense, especially on the Oakland side here, but I've already talked about one hitter from both of these teams because I don't trust either pitcher. Chris Archer for the Twins, again, 4.43 ERA on the season with a 6.24 FIP. He's not pitching deep into games. They haven't asked him to even reach 5 innings this season. Just pretty below average peripherals across the board, 22% strikeout rate, 12% walk rate. Doesn't look like Archer has a whole lot left there. And on the other side, Zach Logue, who came over from Toronto in the Matt Chapman trade, doesn't have a lot of pedigree. He was a 9th rounder in 2017. Scouting reports have him as a back-end starter type who's got some good command and a changeup, and that's kind of it. He's got a good ERA, 1.35 ERA through just 3 outings, but the ERA estimators are up around 4. And in 4 AAA starts to start this season, he's got a 5.63 ERA. So not somebody I'm particularly scared of. I don't think either of these pitchers is going to get out of here with less than, say, about 3 runs. So I think it shouldn't be too hard for this to hit at least 8.